Anthony Elmore, President and founder of the proud Black Buddhist World Association. We are not only the Black Buddhist Voice in America, we are the Black Buddhist Voice in the world. And today, we have an exciting Buddhist lecture for you today. Now, my lecture today is called Buddhism in America is designed for white people. That's why they remove all Black Buddhist history. Buddhism in America, you look at the magazines, you look at the stories, you look at the pictures, all of this is designed for white people. Buddhism in America was not designed for Black people. The reason that Daisaku Ikeda go through great lengths to prove that the Buddha was white is because he promotes racism or Asian cultural hegemony. Now, see, Buddhism again was written for white people, and what the SGI do and Asian Buddhist organizations do is train Black people to marginalize the Black history of Buddhism and to put white supremacy ahead. And why we need Black Buddhist teachers is because Black history is important. We grew up loving Washington, Jefferson, and later learned they were slave owners or not the people whom we thought them to be. Let me give you a contemporary example. We just learned on January the 6th of 2017 via a movie called Hidden Figures. It was a Black woman by the name of Katherine Johnson who did the mathematical trajectory that allowed Americans to go into space and land on the moon. White people purposefully wrote Black people out of history. It was a Black woman who did the math, who got us into space. Yet they tell Black people, you're not qualified to do math. They discriminated against this woman. They was living in an age of segregation when John Glenn went around the earth. But it's this Black woman who helped, who did the mathematical trajectory. But they don't tell you this story because they don't want Black people to know your history. Is that there was a Black woman by the name of Margaret Lee Shutterly who wrote the book Hidden Figures. Thanks to Black writers, we learn our history. The point is, white people and Asians have extricated all Black Buddhist history from the Buddhist teachings. In the 1976 book, written by Daisaku Ikeda, he writes that the Buddha came from an Indo-Aryan Cultural Sphere. And I want Black Buddhists to Google the name, Dr. Francis Alexander Chamberlain. Now, he was born in England in 1865 when the Civil War was going on, when we were just getting out of slavery. He is America's first anthropologist, and he used to write encyclopedias. From this white man, we learn that the Shogun of Japan was a Black man. Not only do we learn that the Shogun of Japan was a Black man, but the first people of Japan were Black people. The original people of Japan were Black people. When you do your research, you learn that Buddhist history in Japan is Black history. When Japan established their ordination Buddhist platform in 749 AD in the ancient capital of Nara, in Japan, they created the world's largest indoor iconic Black Buddhist statue in the world. This Buddha is called the Cosmic Buddha, This Black Buddha is made of bronze and gold. It's the largest Black Buddha or indoor Buddha in the world. And this is the largest iconic Black history right there in Japan. But organizations like the SGI, Nichiren Shoshu, or Asians do not teach Black history. They don't make it a point to tell Black people that when you look at a Buddha statue, they all have hair like mine because they have black hair because the Buddhists were black. Now, please Google my lecture, Black Gods on the Gohanzan. There is so much Black history and culture put into the Gohanzan that it could be a Black history book. Nichiren Shonin was not only Black. Nichiren writes in the Gosho, the letter to Sado, and banishment to Sado, that he was from the family of the Chandela, or the Black Untouchables of India. See, the original Anu people of Japan and the people of India, the Untouchables, they are one of the same people. But the SGI hides this history. In the Daisaku Ikeda fictionalized 1976 book called The Living Buddha, Daisaku Ikeda goes to great length to disavow a concept of a Black Buddha. Now, in the book, this is what Ikeda writes, quote, "Finally, I do not think it is possible to determine for certain the racial origin of Shakyamuni, who lived so many centuries ago. It cannot be denied in ways of thinking associated with Buddhism. There are characteristics that strongly suggest some connection to Indo-Aryan cultural people in their culture. Whatever the racial origin of their founder, there is no doubt that Buddhism grew up in an Indo-Aryan cultural sphere." Unquote. Now, this Daisaku Ikeda wrote a racist statement. Now, we have 4 branches of science that lend certainty to the origin of a people. Daisaku Ikeda is not a scientist. We can go back and tell the ethnic background of Shakyamuni. See, we have archaeology, anthropology, literary science, genetic science, and linguistic science that tells us about a people, culture, and history of ancient India. Scientific records disprove, or rather, there is not any evidence of people known as Indo-Aryans or white people who lived in ancient Magadha. In fact, Magadha was founded by Sisu Naga. Now, look up the word Naga. The people in Magadha were called Nagas. The Nagas were black people. The Nagas are on the Gohanzan. Daisaku Ikeda purposely teaches a racist Buddhism that extricates all black history, culture, and language. Such a rewrite is racism. Now this is what Nichiren writes in the Gosho. When we scrutinize the sutras and treaties with care, we find there is a teaching about a precept known as following the customs of the region that corresponds to this. The meaning of this precept is that so long as no seriously offensive act is involved, then even if one were to depart to some slight degree from the teaching of Buddhism, it would be better to avoid going against the manners and customs of the country. This is a precept expounded by the Buddha. It appears that some wise men are unaware of this point. Unquote. You see, we black people have a history, a culture, and a language that we should follow. See, the custom of our people, as the Buddha teach. See, let me explain. We black people have the greatest and the absolute original music culture in America. All of America's original music comes from black people. There is no form of original music and dance in America that did not come from black people, culture and language in our Buddhist practice. You see, we are black people and we should be respected. Our culture and our history and our language should be included in Buddhist teachings. Now, I want you to listen to a black man who sold more records than any man on planet Earth. I want you to listen to the baddest man who was the baddest dancer and the baddest innovator in terms of dance in America on planet Earth, that he influenced the world. And yet this black man comes out and tells you about the original music. I want you to listen to this black man to tell you, because if I say it, you're going to call me racist. But this black man is sold more records than anybody on planet Earth. I want you to listen to Michael Jackson tell you that he's black, and listen to Michael Jackson tell you how white people and races changed the history, the culture of the dance, and all the pioneering spirit of our black people. And you can see now how the SGI, when I was an SGI member and I used to go to the SGI cultural festivals, they did not include black music, although it was black people who are the originators of all of America's original music. And yet the SGI at their culture festivals extricated and did not make us inclusive, even though when it comes to singing and dancing, we the baddest on the planet. Let's listen to Michael Jackson. We're going to come back and finish this lecture.
I'm tired. I'm really, really tired of the manipulation. I'm tired of how the press is manipulating everything that's been happening in this situation. They do not tell the truth. They're liars. And they manipulate our history books. The history books are not true. It's a lie. The history books are lying. You need to know that. You must know that. All the forms of popular music, from jazz to hip hop to bebop to soul, you talk about the different dances, from the cakewalk to the jitterbug to the Charleston to breakdancing. All these are forms of black dancing. What's more important than giving people a sense of escapism? And escapism meaning entertainment. What would we be like without a song? Okay? What would we be like without a dance? These things are very important, but if you go to the bookstore down the corner, you won't see one black person on the cover. You'll see Elvis Presley. You see the Rolling Stones. But where are the real pioneers who started it? Otis Blackwell was a prolific, phenomenal writer. He wrote some of the greatest Elvis Presley songs ever. This was a black man. Then I started breaking the all-time record in record sales. I broke Elvis's records. I broke Beatles' record. The minute it became the all-time best-selling album in history of the Guinness Book of World Records, overnight they called me a freak. They called me a homosexual. They called me a child molester. They said I tried to bleach my skin. They made everything to turn the public against me. This was all complete conspiracy. You have to know that. I know my race. I just look in the mirror. I know I'm black.
You heard Michael Jackson tell you how white people and how the history of black people who created America's original music is extricated or taken out or not put in the books. See, in my hometown of Memphis, black people invented rock and roll music, but yet they made the white boy Elvis Presley a king. Will come to an SGI meeting and sing a lousy song like Sin Say that ain't got nothing to do with Buddhism, ain't got nothing to do with the teachings of the Buddha or Nichiren Shonin. All it is a brainwashing song, and you got black people singing and talking with Japanese accents, and they forget our own history, culture, and language. Listen to this. Tina Turner performed in Japan several times, and she refused to take a picture with Daisaku Ikeda or any Asian. Tina Turner met with the Dalai Lama, and she never took a picture with him. If she had done such, she would be in such endorsing Asians or Asian Buddhists who extricate black history. You see, when Tina got married, I think in 2013, she wanted to have a Buddhist wedding. Everyone knows that Tina is Buddhist, but Tina made it clear that she did not want to have a Buddhist wedding. She could not have a Buddhist wedding because black culture, black history, black language, and the true Buddhism could not and is not being integrated. Tina Turner, if she had a minister, a black priest, not a priest, a Buddhist priest to come, that would be in essence endorsing these people, and Tina did not let that happen. Now, when you are proud and black, you do your own thing and you stand. See, in Super Bowl 50, you see a Beyonce and these beautiful black women come to Super Bowl 50 and they dance like goddesses. They look good, they stand proud, and they did the Black Power salute, and they not only honored the Super Bowl 50th anniversary, but they honored Malcolm X and the Black Panthers. You see, Beyonce is an example of a black woman who has been successful, but she is unapologetically black. She can be black and successful, and she expressed her black culture. Let us go back to the phrase, secular matters are the entirety of Buddhism. You see, a young man by the name of Colin Kaepernick, a quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, he used to sit back when the national anthem was playing. He would sit down. And a white man who was a Navy SEAL told him, says, man, if you really want to honor the protest, you should do what we do in the Navy, is get down on one knee. And this man, in order to stand up, got down on one knee. And he suffered a loss of income, career. While he is a talented quarterback, no one would sign him because he was a black man who stands up by kneeling on one knee. The President of the United States of America called him a son of a bitch, and other black men who had the courage to fight against racism, oppression, and inequality. They got down on one knee, and we are in America, and black people who are proud stood up by getting down, by standing up, by speaking out. You got black SGI, Nichiren Shoshu, Nichiren Shu, and all these black people who practice Buddhism would not say a word even though Buddhism comes from black people. One should not be intimidated by the fact that so many hold such beliefs, nor does the truth of a belief depend on whether it has been held for a long or short time. The point is simply whether or not it conforms with the text of the scriptures and with reason, unquote. We give reverence only to the correct law, not to any person. The SGI teach that Namu is a Sanskrit word. Please understand that Sanskrit did not happen until the AD. The first record of Sanskrit is the Rudra Dana. Sanskrit is the language of the racist Brahmins. They use Sanskrit to extricate black culture, history, and language from Buddhism. The SGI, whites, Asians, Brahmins use Sanskrit to extricate black history from Buddhism. They all promote Sanskrit. We have to have a cultural expression because it was the Buddha who says we should practice Buddhism according to the customs of the people, their language, we must express ourselves. Use your skills for the Buddha. Be on the right side of history that says, stood up. We know that Daisaku Ikeda is a liar. The SGI, they are liars because they extricate all of the black history, the culture, the language. This is racism. Our ancestors, the Nubians in Africa, they practiced Buddhism. It was the father of history, Herodotus, who wrote that Nero, the ancient capital of Nubia, was the cradle of the Gymnosophist. Gyms means naked, sophist means philosophers. Black people, the Nubians, when you see the Egyptians with the snake, they were Nagas. The Japanese, the Asians, and the white people disregard and extricate black history. It takes nothing to get a camera. It takes nothing to use your voice to tell the truth and speak out against this racism. And it was Malcolm X in the book. Malcolm X on Afro-American history who told us about the Black Buddha. Why don't you leave a legacy? Now listen. Please understand that the word myo means correct. It also means to open. It means wonderful. It also means incomprehensible and unfathomable. This is the point I want you to understand as compared to the SGI concept of human revolution. Josiah Toda, the second president of the SGI, allegedly attained human revolution and enlightenment in prison. While the SGI speak of human revolution, they teach the racist concept of the Aryan invasion theory in Vedic culture. Although you could look at the Tonga-G Temple and UNESCO, the United Science Organization, UNESCO site of history, and you can see this Black Buddha. Now, we can say they talk myo or correct, but they hold racist views. History is cause and effect. Jose Tony wrote the book Lecture on the Sutra that said the Buddha supposedly spoke Sanskrit. Now the word ho represents law, or the correct law. The SGI in Japanese sects and most Buddhists extricate Black Buddhist history. Please understand. They would tell you and teach you that the Buddha spoke Sanskrit. If you were to study history, you would know that the Rudra Dana is the first example of Sanskrit. Sanskrit is something, a false language that happened in the AD, and they used the Sanskrit. It is the language of the Brahmins to racially oppress our black people to get rid of the black history. Now, let us go to the word Renge. This represents the symbol of cause and effect. Whereas we see the flower and the seed to explain cause and effect is two, but not two. It's one single law. The word Kyo means to overcome delusion. Kyo means not only the teachings of the Buddha, but Kyo is all of the teachings of the universe. The SGI, Nichiren Shoshu, and Nichiren Shu, and most Asian Buddhist sects extricate black history. How can you could have some Kyo when they extricate the black history? They write us out of history. There's a saying, refusing to do good is tantamount to doing evil. Dr. King said silence is betrayal. He talks about human revolution. The SGI Human Revolution book is fraud. He should read Up from Slavery by Booker T. Washington, or the autobiography of Malcolm X. Malcolm X's book is taught as required reading in colleges. It was my reading the book Malcolm X on Afro-American history where I learned about the Black Buddha. When you ask white people and you begin to study the black history and you begin to discuss with white people, they say, why you want to bring this up? Why you want to talk about this? Because they want to hide the history. The ultimate Japanese racism is Shintoku. Please look up the word Shintoku. Shintoku means Japanese language. When we chant or recite the Lotus Sutra, here we are, black people, citing the Lotus Sutra in Shintoku. Nichi say san chu san lai and jogo chigo chara hata shoga to chi e chin chin really yogo chi. We don't know what the hell we are saying. We're going to take this nonsense to other black people. The Buddha says we should practice Buddhism in our own language, in our own culture. The reason that they use Shintoku, a Japanese culture, because it is Japanese cultural imperialism. They have an advantage over you. When you got to do Gongyo in Japanese, you don't know what the hell you're saying. You can't keep up with this mess. You have to struggle. But I damn sure if you do it in English, I can kick anybody's ass in it because I know English, I was brought up with English, and this is our culture. And for us black people in America, this is the history. We already took our language away from us. Now we got to take some damn Japanese language. That is not the way of practice. We should stand up and challenge them and say, don't bring no Shintoku in my house that I don't understand. That ain't my language. Protest. We protest. We protest what the SGI is doing by taking our history off. We protest the white racism. We protest because we stand up for our Constitution and the right way of Buddhism. The SGI refused to stand up and refused to be correct, but we don't have to be this way. Anyway, I think I said enough. I am Anthony Elmore, President and founder of the Proud Black Buddhist World Association.